All right, today we are diving into the mystery and the magic of an incredible short story by the one and only Gabriel Garcia Marquez. It's called I Sell My Dreams. And trust me, it's a story that kicks off with a totally surreal disaster and leaves you with a question you'll be thinking about for a long, long time. So, our story doesn't really start at the beginning. Instead, we are just dropped right into this moment of absolute chaos. Picture this. You're at the Havana Riviera Hotel, and out of nowhere, this gigantic freak wave, a total monster, crashes into the city, and just like that, a luxury hotel becomes a disaster zone. And inside the mangled wreckage of a car, which is now literally stuck in the hotel wall, they make this really grim discovery. It's a woman, and her body is just shattered by the force of it all, and nobody has any idea who she is. Her identity is a total mystery. Her face is unrecognizable. But there is one single detail that somehow survives all that destruction, something so specific you just can't forget it: a gold ring shaped like a serpent with these piercing emerald eyes. Now, for our narrator who's reading about all this in the newspaper, that ring isn't just a piece of jewelry. No way. It's a key. It's a key that unlocks this flood of memories from a totally different time, a different continent, and a woman he could never, ever forget. So, the narrator's memory zaps us back 34 years, all the way to post-war Vienna. I want you to imagine a city full of shadows, a perfect place for spies and sketchy black market deals. It's right here that the main story really gets going. So, he's in this cheap tavern, it's filled with students, and our narrator meets a fellow Colombian. She's a bit older, maybe in her 30s, but she just has this presence about her, an aura that he says is both charming and, awe-inspiring. So naturally, the narrator asks her what she does for a living, and her answer is simple, it's direct, and it is completely bizarre. She doesn't say she's a musician or a student or anything like that. She just says, "I sell my dreams." And look, this wasn't just some clever line. This weird ability of hers was actually born from a real childhood tragedy. See, she once dreamed her brother would be swept away in a flood. Her interpretation was strange. She said it meant he shouldn't eat any sweets. Their mom made it a rule, but the boy snuck a piece of caramel, choked on it, and died. Her dream came true, just not in the way anybody could have possibly expected. So in Vienna, she basically turned this talent into a weapon. She found a rich family and made them a deal. She'd live with them, and every single morning, she would interpret her dreams to predict their future for that day. And pretty soon, her word became law. Her dreams decided every single move they made, until she had absolute, total control over the entire household. I mean, her power of persuasion was just absolute. One night, she goes to the narrator with this really serious warning, all based on a dream she had about him. And her conviction is so powerful, so terrifying, that he doesn't even think to question it. He literally packs his bags and gets on the very last train out of Vienna that same night. Okay, so now this story jumps forward 13 years. The narrator is in Barcelona, and he's about to have another one of these chance encounters. But this time, it's with the great Chilean poet Pablo Neruda. So they're at lunch, and Neruda, who's a guy that always brags about how he doesn't believe in prophetic dreams, he suddenly gets this really uneasy feeling. He tells the narrator, "There's someone behind me who won't stop staring at me." He turns around and, of course, it's her. It's Frau Frida. They spend the whole afternoon together, and then it's time for a siesta, a midday nap. Neruda goes to rest, and Frau Frida, who's back on her ship, does the same. And what happens in the next hour? Well, it's the strangest, most mind-bending moment in this entire story. When they both wake up, they reveal something just unbelievable. Neruda says, "I dreamed she was dreaming about me." And when the narrator rushes over to her ship, she tells him, "I dreamed about the poet. I dreamed he was dreaming about me." Think about that. They had the exact same, impossible, interlocking dream. So a car embedded in a hotel wall? A woman who sells her dreams for a living? A shared recursive dream? What is going on here? To get it, we really have to understand the author's super unique style. This is the work of Gabriel Garcia Marquez, an absolute giant of literature, who won the Nobel Prize back in 1982. He was a master storyteller who just loved to mix the bizarre with the totally ordinary. And this story is a perfect example of his signature style, magical realism. Basically, it's a world where fantastic things like, selling dreams for a living are treated as completely normal. Nobody in the story ever stops and questions if Frau Frieda's power is real. They just accept it. The magic is just another part of their reality. And through this style, the story digs into some really big questions. Like, is our life already mapped out by fate, or do we actually have free will? How powerful is just believing in something? And, at the end of the day, what's really the difference between a dream, a story, and reality itself? So, how do we tie all these amazing ideas together? Well, if you're studying this text, or you just want to understand it on a much deeper level, these next few points are absolutely essential. We're going to break down the key takeaways for you.
Okay, here's a quick rundown of the fundamentals. The author, of course, is Marquez. Our main characters are the narrator, Frau Frida, and the poet Pablo Neruda. The plot uses what we call a framing story, so the accident in Havana is the frame for the main story, which is told in those two big flashbacks. That serpent ring, that's our key symbol connecting everything, and the genre is, you guessed it, magical realism.
All right, let's put our understanding to the test. Here are a few key questions that really get to the heart of the story's plot. First up, amid all that chaos in Havana, how did the narrator recognize the woman in the crashed car? The answer is in that one crucial detail that survived the impact. It was, of course, because of that unforgettable gold ring shaped like a serpent with emerald eyes. And our second question, why did our narrator just get on a train and flee Vienna and never go back? Well, he left because Frau Frida, with complete and total certainty, told him she had dreamed about him and that he had to leave for 5 years. He was so convinced by her power that he just didn't dare risk it. And this brings us to our final lingering question. Was Frau Frida a genuine psychic whose dreams could actually predict the future? Or was she just an incredibly convincing storyteller, a brilliant manipulator who used superstition to control people? You know, the story never tells us for sure. And it leaves us to wonder if, in a world created by Garcia Marquez, there's even a difference at all.